Hi guys, this is Nate at Reach 3D Printers. We are going to start a quick SketchUp tutorial. Download SketchUp from, I think it's a Google program. Agree, continue, start. If you're choosing a template, of course you can go down pretty far and you can actually get like 3D printer items. So millimeters is what I prefer. Alright, so they got like the MakerBot on here, so hopefully, yeah, looks like all my buttons are good. Scroll mouse zooms in and out. The wheel click in will let you orbit. Pan is done with, let's see, been a few days since I've used this. There's pan. Pan is done with shift and orbit. So if you're orbiting, you can hit pan or hit shift, pan, shift, pan. Okay, so that's basically how to get around. You can zoom in, zoom out. Selecting things is done with the left mouse button. The right mouse button brings up your information. So let's go ahead and select the whole thing. There's two ways to select. You can select from the top left and go to the right. Oh, this is a group, that's why. So we're going to explode that. Top left to bottom right. Nope, this is still a group. Explode. We'll go over all that later. Okay, so top left to bottom right will select a area that is fully encased. If it's not fully encased, it won't be chosen. If you go bottom right to top left, it will select everything that that border touches. So if I only go to here, it won't catch the MakerBot name. You can additionally hit shift and select additional items. This is basically just moving around through it. Alright, moving on. So let's just pretend that you know how to do everything like that, or most of you probably already do anyways. Next thing we're going to do is create a line or a box. You can go up, create whatever size you want. We know that our printer bed has 200, 200, and you'll see it being typed in the bottom, hopefully. Hit enter. Yeah, it should be down here. Looks like it's slightly underneath the taskbar. There we go. Okay, 200 by 200. So I typed that in with a comma between. It created this. I also have an extrude button. Control Z to undo. So click once and lift. And the extrude just lifts in one direction. So let's lift it 100. And so that's half the printer height, but full X and Y. Notice your axes, your blue, green, and red. Your red is your X, Y is green, blue is Z on your printer. 0, 0, 0 is right there. Alright, so we've got this very large piece. Let's take a look at midpoints. You can choose your line tool and just kind of drag it over. It'll find a midpoint. From there you can find other midpoints. Now notice the line's red. That means it's going directly along the x-axis. If you want to go in the blue, let's say you want to go on the x-axis but you want to stop right at this point, well, you can leave it on the red, hold down shift, and it will lock it in the red direction. And then you can bring it to this point here, to there. And then the extrude also works in the negative, so you could remove a piece of the puzzle. Check the back side, make sure it didn't disappear. You can also, let's cut this in half again, take this down to 50. No, I'm sorry, Control Z. It's 200 total length, so cut it in half, it would be 100. Alright. So now we got this block. You can select the whole thing. You can right click. You can say make group. Choose the move key. You can hit copy. See that little plus sign that shows up on my cursor? You can grab a corner and make a copy of it. You can make a copy 100 away, would put it right about here. You can also make these, let's move it a little further away. Now remember, whenever I said make group, the group kind of defines it as an entity of its own. So if you don't want to mess with it or accidentally click a piece on it, Now to get into it, you double click and then you can modify one single piece of it. You can call this a component. Now make component means that when you modify it, it will modify all the copies that are identical to it. So if we make another copy, put it out here at 200, see what we're doing here. Okay. Open this component up. There it goes. It's going to modify the second one. So if we do something like drawing a line and take a chunk out of it to the midpoint, let's say, it's going to modify that one. Now this one was a copy over here, but we did not make it part of the same component. So let's say we take this one and we've modified two of these, but this one's slightly different than this one. Well, you can take this one and say make unique. It becomes a component. Let me make copies of this. So if you start to move it, hit Control, and it will say, oh yeah, I meant to copy 100. Oh, I've got to go 200. If you want to move it again, it'll kind of snap to your previously entered distance. So you don't have to type it in again, for instance. If I modify this, see that one's a copy of that, and this one's a copy of that. So see where I'm going with all that. Anyways, that's a tutorial on copying, making components, groups. Components or groups are different. If I make a copy of this, like I was showing you earlier, and it's not a component, then if I modify this, it won't modify the copy. So that's how groups and components are different. The next thing we're going to do is a through hole. So up here in your tools, you have freehand, you got lines, you got erasers. So let's just look at this and say you can delete a single line and it's gone. Notice the inside's blue, right? So in Google Sketchup, you have two different faces. You have an inside and an outside. So you can individually create shapes, doing all kinds of things. Now notice that does weird stuff. So you may not have expected it to do that. That's why using this is often super important. So you can go like 10, for instance, and up 10 and over 10. Now if you can't get the green to stick right, you can go this route. That's 10. Then you can do like a 45-degree angle. So it gets a little complex sometimes whenever you're building shapes to make sure you're in the correct dimension, the intended dimension that you're going in. And so if you extrude, you know, this is going to do interesting things, right? All right, so the possibilities are all over the place at this point. What I said before is I was going to show you a through hole. And so a through hole is going to be using a circle. Actually, let's not do a circle, let's do a polygon. So let's say you want to put an M3 nut, or maybe an M5 nut. An M5 nut, the outside of the hex is actually like 8 millimeters. So that would be 8. There you go. And let's say we want to locate it at a certain position that is important. You can either, if you do this and then pull back, it can create problems. It's trying to attach to this line. So escape, Control Z. So oftentimes to align things, you either have to use a ruler tape measure function, or you can say I want this to be, let's say I want this to be 20 out. So it's going to create a little anchor point there, right? Even without that line. You can select this whole thing by double clicking. You can do around that one piece. You can single click for the inside, double click for everything it touches, or triple click to select everything that everything touches that you're selecting. So lots of different methods for making selections. Where's it? 20. Ah, must have erased it. Okay. Should be able to go out 20. There's 20. So that should create an endpoint right here. Then you can grab this guy, shift, snap to endpoint. Do another 20 out this way. Center, grab, make sure it's going in that direction, and then hit your shift when you got it. Where is that endpoint at? There it is. Okay, so that should be centered at 2020. If you want to check that, what you can do is hold on the edge. If you hold on to the edge of this design, this polygon, it'll show you the center point. From here you can measure. You'll see down here in the bottom corner it says 20. This one says 20, so we know we're good. Alright, so through hole, again, you're looking at an extrusion. There's other ways to do it, but that's probably the simplest. And then you just snap it to the face. It should be pretty clean for the most part. So you could throw some M3 nuts in there or whatever, but hey, we don't want to go all the way through because it's a nut. So, oops, Control Z. So you click once, bring it down. Let's say we're only bringing it down 6 is maybe the thickness of an M5 nut. And then we want to do a circle, and we're going to hold it here so that it chooses the polygon center. You can come out 2.6 so that there's a little bit of tolerance. I think I did that right. Yeah. Oops. Okay. Sometimes if you click really fast and move your mouse, it won't attach. So, bam. So it should be a through hole for a bolt. Let's get rid of some of this. I don't know. Let's go 40. So this is only 10 thick. Maybe we'll bring this up. My mouse likes to jump a little bit. There we go. 2. So it's only 4 deep. As you can tell, this is definitely not the right size for an actual. That's because there is, I think it's circumscribed polygons. As you can see, there's a ring around here. I thought you could change that with Control, but yes, you can. Control does it. So Control will change if you're measuring from the point or from perpendicular to an edge, if you can see that. Alright, so perhaps I did it wrong. Either way, we've got a basic plate with a little nut holder and a hole through it. So that's a quick way to make parts. There's also a few other really neat tools you can use. Oh, I got to show you faces. If you're 3D modeling this for a 3D printer, like I was saying, there's an inside and outside to a face. Sometimes your faces will be dark where they're not supposed to because of strange intersection of faces and whatnot. You can reverse the face, or let's say there's a bunch of them that are all like wrong. We'll pick one that's right and say orient faces, and it'll turn all the wrong ones to the same orientation. Now that doesn't always solve it if you got a lot of problems in your model, but it may help. Alright, there's other things you can do, like you can write letters or words are pretty easy. This is not the text tool, is not the right one. You want to do the 3D text tool. So let's say reach. And you can choose, obviously 254 millimeters in height is massive, so we want to do like, let's just do 10 in height. Yeah, you can change your text and all that. Alright. This is one of those where now you can, it's a group, you can go into it. You can either select all the upper faces by going like that, not like that, but like this. You can grab the move, drop it down. 10 was obvious, 25 was too high. Let's do 22 down. That'll leave like a roughly a 3. Must have done that at an inch. Yeah, 3.4. Alright, so we want to throw like a name or something on there. The next thing you can do is you can take this guy. You want to get him on the blue axis. It may not let me. Because it's wanting to snap it to it. So what we can do is cut this. Since we're in this object, let's go out of the object. Edit, paste in place. That's a really nice feature. Use your move tool again. You should be able to grab this and move it vertically. I'm not getting any luck with the vertical movement though. Somebody's probably out there and they're like, oh, just do this, man. Should be able to move this vertically in the blue axis. I believe you can actually tell this to move, and you can tell it exactly where to locate it at. Huh. Well, either way, there's a lot of ways to go about this. What we can do on this instance is we can actually take the bottom half of it, and I want this to drop into actually, we'll take this up 4, get up 6, and we'll take this side, we'll take this down, take it down 6. Alright. Okay, so we've gone into it and we've inverted the faces. Now the next thing we want to do is, we see that this is 6 too high. So we can, I'm not the very best at SketchUp, but you know, it doesn't take much to learn enough to do some really neat things. Okay, so here's what we've done. We have inverted this by extruding through it or moving it through it, and then we can delete faces. This will be cool. I think you guys will like this. And then select the top layer, all just the thin lines, edit, copy, go into this, edit, paste in place. Okay, now this does occur sometimes. See how these are floating? SketchUp is a little goofy at times, so you'll have to like get these to embed onto the surface. Like these are like loose, and the only way that I've found of doing that is to connect it to the edges. See how that, oops. Z, there we go. Touch it to the edge, and it doesn't have to be all the way through. You can just grab any area, but to me that's always worked. Just a little flaw that to me Google doesn't like to, or SketchUp doesn't like to know what you're doing or take anything for granted. Okay, now where's the inside of the letters, right? We created them. Well, we're in this object, so we got to jump out of it, and there's the inside of the letters. So we can merge these, we can cut this, go into this object, edit, paste to place, and then we can explode this one, and there it is. So we've got letters into the part that we're making. Alright, let's see what else we can do on here. I wanted to do like a little dome or something because there's this cool tool called Follow Me. And there's also offsets. Let me show you an offset real quick. It's pretty much what it sounds like. Oh, okay. See how this part is not really attached? Part of that is because I'm not in the object. So when I go into the object, it disappears. One thing you do quickly is just explode this and it will attach. Usually. Offset, this is your offset tool. It's pretty neat. So you can grab any line, go beyond it, escape, grab this line. You can do a specific distance. Oops. If you click and move too fast, it'll set it. So. Little inverted cylindrical pyramid thingy. Step cone. Alright. So that's that. I want to show you one last thing. This is the... Oh, I got to do intersection. Alright, so we got a little circle over here. And we're going to make it pretty tall. And for some reason, let's say we know that there is this object is a group, and we know this one's a group, make it that. And we want these two to intersect at this strange angle for some reason, because we know a bolt comes through here at 45 degrees. Oop, Control Z, let's get that right. 45, there it is. You could also type in the angle down there. And we know that it comes through, I don't know, maybe like somewhere in this region. What we can do, there's more information on trying to get this to do this correctly, but you could center this based on lines inside here or whatever. A lot of ways to go about it. I'm not really too particular with what's going on with that. What I want to show you is these two can be intersected by clicking both of them. Intersect faces with selection. You can delete this. You can like, I think you can hide stuff, and it shows you your intersection. Or you can, let's go ahead and go back to that cylinder we had. We're going to explode this, and what's going to happen is we got two rings, so now it attached to the cylinder to those two rings. We can delete that, we can delete that, we can explode this. It didn't attach. So I was talking about earlier, we got to get it to attach to the object. Do the same here. For some reason it just wants to be tricky on occasion. Okay, there we go. And then you can delete these. I know, Google's a little funny, but hey, it's a free program and it does some pretty cool stuff. And I created the entire Reach 3D printer in SketchUp, so it's pretty strong for being free. Alright, there is the skewed hole entrance. This side is obviously wrong because it's an inside where this is in the outside of the part, so orient faces and you're good to go. Let's see, what else? A dome. I don't know why, I just like the dome idea. Oh, this is something I should also show you. See how that circle turns green and it's blue, and this side will be red. Well, you can orient and lock that orientation. What you should be able to. You can hold it up here, lock it in place, hit the center, and create shapes that are in the proper orientation in free space by holding Shift. Alright, so the last little thing I want to show you that's a really cool, it's called the Follow Me tool. And so you can go with curves or, being that this is free and you don't get all these solid tools, these are all for Pro version, which this apparently is the Pro version. The average, if you go and download something, typically it won't have these solid tools. So I want to show you some workarounds to make solid objects. Tools. Follow me. You can click this guy and you can build stuff like that. So we just built a pretty cool dome in just a few seconds without having any solid tools. So, and then you could do stuff. Okay. There's also a, when you're selecting stuff, hold down Shift and Control. This will get rid of anything I accidentally selected. Then we can group this, and you can do different stuff with it. Let's say we wanted that dome to be, it's not going to let me do that because this angle here. Oh, yeah, it will. It's alright. We can also flip along blue axis. Boom. So we've got an inverted dome. inside of here. So there's lots of things you can do. Explode so that it's going to connect. Orient faces. It's connected. Of course, that in order to catch that dome in there, I had to mess up the angle of this. Extending that. Alright guys, hopefully that was a pretty thorough, in-depth tutorial. The next thing that I want to do is go over Mesh Lab. We're going to convert this thing, this exact piece, into a printable 3D object by exporting the model, yada yada, and we'll open it up in Mesh Lab. Alright, see you guys in a second.